The energy in the room is perfect, and everybody's ready. And the music starts, and people start opening their hearts to emulate the divine, to give life to another human being's life, to love another person into life, to give. And they bring those hands together, and they become aware of the space between their hands, that energy, coherent energy, and they slowly, not in a program, not rushing, not moving all over, present the entire time, they just move those hands right into the field. And you have 8 people in a circle doing that, and it's like putting pebbles in the water. It begins to produce concentric fields of energy, and those energy fields begin to interfere. All of a sudden it starts to create this organized standing wave of information, of wholeness, of oneness, and they literally change the field of the cellular structures that are damaged. You change the field and you change matter, and that is a miracle in your midst.
So the clip that you just saw was from the coherence healings at Dr. Joe's advanced retreats, and this is something I've wanted to talk about for a long time, because the coherence healings, I remember my very first coherence healing is still the most profound experience I've ever had. I feel that, we were given a glimpse of who we truly are, and that is just pure love. And when you say the word love, it doesn't really do it justice, because people think like romantic love and puppy dog love, but it's just so much greater than that. It is like this divine, all-encompassing, the very essence of all of creation kind of love that I'm talking about. And so Dr. Joe actually says in the advanced retreats so the retreats are 7 days long. And he says we can't do these coherence healings on the first few days. We have to, because our energy isn't there yet as a group. So we wait till the last 2 days, typically, and the retreats that I've been to is the last 2 days. And we're talking of groups. I think the first retreat I was in Toronto. There was 900 plus students. The second retreat that I was in Vancouver, and there was 800 plus students. So as a group, we spend the week building energy, tuning into a greater level of consciousness, if you will, a greater frequency. And on the last 2 days, we practiced the coherence healings. Now, before I went to my first event, that's the thing that I was most excited about, which kind of, it makes me wonder why, because typically I don't like people. That's my own shit, but yeah, but I remember watching a video, and it's actually the clip that I played before this, before I went to the retreat, and I was just moved to tears, and I just wanted to experience that. I mean, that is amazing. And my first experience turned out to be quite amazing. So the principle is that everybody thinks that matter creates the field. So we all have an electromagnetic field around our bodies, and it's thought that our body is creating that field, but the truth is the field is creating all matter. And when you change the field, everything is frequency, you change matter. And so the coherence healings, the principle is that we influence somebody who has an illness, signs up to have a healing, and they are surrounded by 6 to 8 people, and we influence their electromagnetic field, thus changing the incoherent pattern, the incoherent frequency of the illness or disease that is within their body. And to most people this probably sounds like fucking nuts, but this is real. Dr. Joe says that last I heard that it was about a 30% success rate. So last I heard he did a poll, and 75% of the people within the healing circles experienced some form of healing. 30% experienced a significant change in their health issue. And then the rest experienced moderate to light changes within their physical illness or disease. And the cool thing that gets me going is he says that once we get good at this, once the students, us, get good at this, he wants to start doing this in children's hospitals and whatnot. So, and that just, can you imagine a world where we heal each other with frequency? Where, ultimately, I imagine a world where there is no more illness and disease, because we're taught this right from birth, that all illness and disease is just an incoherent pattern in the field. A mixed message, if you will, from the field, because everything is frequency, and the unified field is the 0 point where all of everything originates from. And this work is about connecting to that. And so anyways, yeah, in the coherence healings on the last 2 days, I still remember the first one. And how it goes is Dr. Joe, the people that have been chosen to have a healing are brought out of the room, and Dr. Joe does a live meditation with them. I've learned after the fact that basically what he's guiding them to do is to feel worthy, to know that the illness and disease that they have manifested within their body, of course we don't do this intentionally, this is just the byproduct of living in such an incoherent world, right? But he moves them to a place where they don't feel responsible for this, that they don't blame themselves for this, and he gets them to feel worthy and to be open to receive this heightened frequency that the healers, which I've never been a healer, I've only been part of the healer groups, that we're going to help change their frequency, the incoherent message of illness and disease. And how it works, so they're outside of the room and Dr. Joe's with them, but we're the healers, so that's the majority of the group. The majority of the people at the retreat are the healers. And we just start off with a walking meditation. We just keep raising our energy, focusing on our heart and raising our energy, becoming more of the divine and less of our limited ego selves. We just raise our energy. Eventually we stop and we place our hands on our heart, and we just keep raising our energy. Your heart is the center of wholeness and oneness. It is the connection to the unified field. And so that is our focus, is on our heart. We just keep raising our energy. And then eventually we open our eyes, and there's circles taped on the ground, and whichever circle we're close to, we just go to that spot, and that's where they're gonna bring the healies. Eventually we just keep raising our energy. Sometimes we join hands. We held hands with the people around us, 6 to 8 people forming a circle. And then other times we just raised our energy. Eventually, with our eyes closed, they bring the healies in the middle of us, and we don't even know, because our eyes are closed, and we're, a lot of us are in a way different place. I remember I wasn't me. I was the divine. Which is who we really are. But eventually we open our eyes, and now the healie's in front of us, and we sit down, and then Dr. Joe asks us to meet our fellow healers. And by this time, I'm already bawling my eyes out, like because I read this thing a long time ago, and this is what I anticipated, because Dr. Joe explains what we're going to do before this starts, and this is what I anticipated doing when we look at our fellow healers and see the truth in each other, that we are pure love. But I read this thing a long time ago, and I actually tried practicing it at work, and I couldn't, because I couldn't look at another human this way and maintain composure. I just couldn't. It was, I'd start getting tears in my eyes. So, I was practicing at work, and then I stopped because, it was just hard. But anyways, this is the excerpt from the book. The book You Have Chosen to Remember by James Blanchard Cisneros. Anyways, I came across this a long time ago, and it's just such a beautiful thing. So how it goes, we are all one. And so today, let us practice the experience of oneness. We will practice returning to the truth in us by seeing and acknowledging the same truth in others. We are the physical expression of love itself. And so when we meet another, let us practice our first thoughts about them being that we love them and that we know that they are love. From the deepest part of our hearts and souls, we will, through our eyes, silently whisper this to them, and we will feel them receiving this truth from us. Today, no one we meet remains unloved. No more will we look at 1,000 different forms and call them by the ego's name, strangers. No more will we hear 1,000 illusionary sounds they go by and use this to see them as separate or different from ourselves. Let us practice this over and over again, time after time, person after person, day after day, until we recall that this is the way we truly desire to meet, interact, and treat each other. Imagine if that's how we saw other selves. This world convinces us, and I believe that this is just the experience, that another infinite way of source, the source of all life, the source of God, whatever you want to call it, the all in all, experiencing itself in another infinite way. We come from perfection, so this is just another experience of the contrast of that perfection, But so in the coherence healings, this is what I had in mind when because we meet our fellow healers with our eyes, no words, and this is the excerpt that I thought of, and I'm just connected, and I'm just bawling my eyes out, because I don't know if it's a release or what, but anyways, I looked to the lady next to me, and she's just sobbing like crazy too. And then there was another girl beside her, and she was just kind of straight faced, and I just sent her that love, and I just, it's hard to remember, because it was, over a year ago now, almost 2 years ago actually. And I sent her that, and she, she was straight faced, and then all of a sudden she just burst out crying, and it kind of made me feel awkward actually, but so now I just carried on around the circle, and I remember there was one guy, and he was just looking down. He wouldn't look at anybody, and I think he just wasn't ready to let go of the limited self, the ego self, and break free. But in this environment, I felt so allowed to let go and experience that excerpt that I tried to experience in my working life and my daily life. And I was allowed to let go, and I did, and it was just the most beautiful experience I've ever had. So how it works, the coherence healings, the person's laying in front of us, and so now our energy is just elevated as fuck. I mean, You know, the way I describe it is I became a conduit of the divine. So the person is laying in front of us, and we close our eyes again after we meet each other with our eyes, and we just raise our energy through our heart. And then we take that energy, and it kind of reminded me of Reiki, not that I know Reiki, but we put our hands together and we feel that energy from our heart going down through our arms, in between our hands, and we feel that energy in between our hands. And eventually Dr. Joe, as you see in the video, he says, now on a program, put your hands into the field of the person in front of you. And it was, you know, before the thing, he said, you know, if you're doing all this weird woo-woo stuff, and he says, you know, you have to, if you're a Reiki healer, if you are a shaman, you have to forget all of that, because that is just another program. You have to become the all in all itself, because everything else is just another human program, really. He says you have to forget all of that, and you have to become pure love. And so anyways, you know, I as soon as I put my hands into the field, so we don't touch anybody, and we just put our hands into the electromagnetic field that's around the person in front of us, that wants a healing. And I still remember my hands just started shaking. You can see in the video, everybody's hands are just like calm, but my hands just started shaking, and I couldn't stop it. And I thought, okay, well, this is just it is what it is. I mean, it is what it is. That's all there is to it. And I just let it happen, and my God, I don't know how long it lasted for. But it was amazing. And I still remember, before we even put our hands into the field in front of the person in front of us, I heard a thumping on the ground, and I've heard stories of people's bodies who are having the healing. Their bodies just start doing all kinds of weird shit. Like, you know, I've got a friend who lives not too far away in the same province that I live in, and she says that her back. I'll link the her testimonial in the comments, or in the description. And she said that her back arched, and she tried to recreate that after the fact, and she couldn't. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. You know, I'll put a couple of videos in the description that can give you a better idea if you want to know more. But I guess the reason for me doing this video is, this is who we are. This is who we are. And, you know, I haven't experienced that outside of a retreat, because our world pulls us. It's weird. You know, our world, it's like the perfect contrast to the perfection that we are, you know. And I see that this is the way humanity is going. This is where we are going. We are becoming our truth. We've experienced the contrast for thousands of years, you know, and it's time that we wake up to who we really are, you know. And whether we do or don't, doesn't matter, but this is where I see us going. This is the intention that I put into the field every day. I just have a knowing that this is where we're going. You know, people say that there's a splitting of worlds, and that, you know, the ones that have awoken to the truth of who we are will go one way, and then the others that want to stay stuck to the old world and the competition and the dog eat dog and you know, the survival lower frequency stuff that we've been taught all our lives, those people will stay in the old world. I don't know. I just know that I've gotten bogged down in this very dense experience for most of my life, and I'm not doing that anymore. This is Dr. Joe's work is the most amazing thing I've ever done for myself. It is, in essence, what we're doing is we're tuning into a greater level of consciousness. We're disassociating from the limited ego self, which is just a product of all our beliefs and perceptions that have been forced on us since birth, right? And our world, the way I perceive it, is completely backwards from truth. You know, why aren't kids taught this in school? Why aren't we taught meditation in school? Holy shit, like, it's the most amazing thing ever. But as I said, you know, I'm at peace with this very dense, dark, what I used to perceive as very difficult world, because from a greater level of consciousness, from an infinite being perspective, I chose to come and experience this. We chose to come and experience this. So, you know, holding on to anger, resentment, and fear, it's just a lower level of consciousness. It's a lower frequency. So it doesn't get us anywhere. It just creates more of that. And I've experienced that. I mean, for the first 37 years of my life, I experienced that. And, you know, in other videos, I'll talk about how I got to the retreats, you know, living in my car. I lived in my car for 10 years because I had these lack beliefs. How I just surrendered to the excitement of being in the retreat, and everything just manifested. Everything just came together. And yeah, so many amazing experiences that I want to share from my experience with doing Dr. Joe's work and being at the retreats. And also how this gives me a knowing that the current fear/pandemic is complete bullshit, because illness cannot exist in a high frequency environment. And the only reason, that's why mainstream media is promoting fear. I knew that from day one. I mean, fear literally shuts down your immune system. Literally shuts down your immune system. So that's, I see this as the last stand of the controlling forces that call them the elite, if you will, because they are elite. They make the rules of the world, right? It's just crazy. I could go on and on and on, and I intend to do a video about why this whole fear-demic is just bullshit. It's exactly that. It's a fear-demic. Fear alone can create the illness itself. I know I have a occupational therapist that I used to work with, and she actually had symptoms of COVID until she was able to take her temperature, and all symptoms subsided. It's no different than the placebo effect. It's actually the opposite of placebo effect. It's called the nocebo. And, you know, the very idea that there is something called the placebo, what is that? That our body can heal itself. You take a sugar pill and you become well. You have a fake surgery, and what you went in to have operated on becomes better. That is indicative that's like, means that our body has the ability to heal itself with thought alone. As long as and all we have to do is accept, believe, and surrender to the idea of a possibility. That's it. But anyways, this is already kind of long, so I'm going to pinch it off here. I've wanted to tell this story ever since I experienced it, but I was too chicken shit to get in front of a camera, but here I am. This is all very low tech. I'm doing it with my cell phone. I just need to get this information out there. We are love. And when we see each other as part of a greater whole, as part of the infinite intelligence that is all of life, our world will change. Our world will change. Right now, we're more divided than ever. But I believe that this is the breaking down of the old systems so that we can create something new. And that's where I'm placing my attention. I'm placing my attention every day. Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So, yeah, that's my story. Thanks so much for listening. Subscribe. I don't give a shit. Like it. I don't care. Whatever. This is the first video ever on YouTube. Something that a few years ago I never imagined I'd be able to do. But whatever. Here it is. And thanks. Much love to you all. We are one. Feel that in your heart.